From sunrise to sunset, recycling is more than a job. It's a way of life. Early mornings, late nights, hard work that turns the old into something new. Recyclers power the economy, and ReMatter is built to power you. Making those long days easier with smarter tools like scale ticketing, payments, dispatch, and everything in between. We bring it all together so you can focus on what matters most, growing your business and serving your community. Driven by the spirit of recyclers everywhere. ReMatter. Built for recycling. Built for you.
Very much. I don't mean to yell, but I'm just trying to get everyone's attention. Come learn about Fire Rover. We're here to protect you. All right, so and feel free to stop if you guys have any questions. Thank you for coming. Thank you to ReMA. This is an amazing show. Again, today we're going to talk about risk mitigation for scrap metal facilities. We do a ton of scrap metal facilities across the country. So what I look at and what people don't understand, because we do cover a ton of waste and recycling, is that the real recycling, the real pounds that don't go into a landfill, that actually go in, that get reused and they get put into new products, is usually C&D and metal recyclers, right? Now, what I call that real recycling. That's 80% of what we keep out of our landfills is really coming from the metal operators and the C&D operators. And the reason that that's important to me is that we spend so much time in the media talking about all of the, we talk about all the, batteries that we see in the waste stream, but a lot of times, and we're talking about education and educating the public, but what we're not talking about is educating the businesses and making sure that they send proper loads and making sure that there's less contamination in all those loads. So again, I think that's something that's really important, but we all know there is an inherent risk of fire in everything that we do. There has been for decades, for years. They were traditional hazards, accelerants, and all those different pieces. You've add in that batteries, and it really is about half of the fires that we're seeing now are battery fires. So really what we do is, at Fire Rover, we use early detection. We look at, we verify, and early detection's only a small piece of what we do. The biggest piece of what we do is actually fight the fires for you. We do everything on the front lines. We fight the fires in replace of the employees and also in replace of the fire professionals. Now that doesn't mean that we work with the employees, we work with the fire professionals. There's all different layers of everything that we're doing, but we are your partner in fire mitigation and risk mitigation. We work with your team and the local professionals to deliver the best outcomes, because at the end of the day, you can't stop a fire. It's the severity of the fire that you can control. And what you can control is getting it quickly and making sure that we hit it and make sure that we get it quickly so that we don't have a black plume or all the things that give that give the great metal recycling operators and the C&D operators who come in and give that black eye, right? And most of the time, you guys have been there a lot longer than the public has been. So really, we want to fight your fires so you don't have to. And you've been doing it forever, but now that we add in batteries and EV batteries and all these different things with all the accelerants, there's shrapnel, there's all these different risks that can happen, and it is to both the fire department and also to our frontline employees. So we have to ensure that those employees stay safe. We stop the fires in their tracks using early detection, and we have remotely operated fire suppression capabilities. So yes, we actually have virtual firefighters that put out fires. Last year, we put out 268 fires at our 800 facilities across 3 continents. This year, we're on pace to put over 400 fires out for our facilities, and I'll show you guys the dashboard. We have never had a catastrophic loss or major loss at a scrap metal facility, period. So again, we've had a lot of fires, we've had a lot of issues, it's never clean and it's never simple, but we have never had a catastrophic loss. With our system, we've had 2 times in 10 years that we've had a system be overpowered. One was a battery recycler. There was reasons for this, and then there was also one tip floor that had a 55-gallon drums of hand sanitizer, a truckload that was dumped on the tip floor 2 hours before, and we almost saved that building. So again, when you look at from a risk mitigation perspective, insurers are listening. So we have been seeing, this is where, it seems like fires are getting more and more and more prevalent. Well, I do all the reported fires. So what I mean by that is I only report fires that I've seen in the media. So these aren't Fire Rover, these are just reported fires. Usually these are the 2-alarm, the 3-alarm, the 4-alarm fires. So when we see these, I've been tracking them since 2016. In 2016, I always said it was a base number. In 2018, I called it the lithium-ion battery wave was going to hit the market, and it hit. So again, instead of everybody thinking I was insane, it's like, oh wait, I think we have another problem that we have to deal with. And again, we at that point in time were proving that our solution worked in the market. We saw the numbers go down because we really saw the waste and recycling industry figure out. They started segregating their piles more. They started doing operational best practices. They started doing everything they could to mitigate these risks, and it worked for a while. But what's happened is that we now cover almost 10% of the US and Canadian waste recycling, transfer stations, scrap metal yards, ton of shredders, and we do this and we're protecting them, and I know they aren't having catastrophic losses, but these are all on here, and the numbers are starting to go up again. The last 3 years, this is actually, I have a breakdown in my annual report. This is for EPR. It's being used for all the different for all the different guys who are basically trying to help us from a regulatory perspective. That's why I do all this. I'm trying to protect the waste and recycling operators. So as you see, we break it down by waste, by metal. Metal has typically and traditionally been about 1/3 of the fires that we're seeing from a public perspective, and the numbers have been going up, but the numbers are still in line with what we're seeing from the entire waste and recycling industry that includes e-scrap. We do a ton of battery recycling yards or battery recycling facilities. We do a ton of like processing plants and others. We do hazard material. So again, all those different pieces that as everyone's diversifying their business, we do construction and demolition, right? So all these have different occupancies, but there are solutions for these, all these types of operators. I call this the vape effect. So the reason I call this the vape effect is that the first 6 years that we were doing this, I thought I was going to say, okay, hey, we were going to have fires, then we're going to go put Fire Rovers in and it's all going to disappear. Well, guess what? I've seen a hockey stick, and this hockey stick is literally for personal electronics, personal storage, all these different things. And so what we're seeing now is that the last 3 years, we've seen a 20% increase in fires. And again, I am protecting 10% of the waste and recycling industry. So we're seeing more fires, and we're seeing a smaller, with a smaller number of operators out there that aren't protected, we're seeing more catastrophic losses or more major losses. I call it the vape effect because what we've seen with vapes is that Altria's website, or their K1, they came out in 2022 and said that 18 million American men 21 years older or more, and again, this is all inside my report, 21 years older or more, they transitioned from 22 to 24, 6 million from traditional cigarettes to vapes. Vapes are not disposable. Vapes are rechargeable, but they're single-use vapes, and they should be called single-use vapes for a reason. There are no drop-off locations, so if you go to Call to Recycle, we talk to all these different folks, there's not enough convenient drop-off locations, and if you go to Staples and Lowe's and all the other places where you can hand them your power batteries and all your rechargeable batteries, they won't accept your vapes because they're a biohazard, and they're also a hazard material because of the vape juice. So really, what you end up with is somewhere where you're telling the public that they need to dispose of them, but they're getting into everything. So think about it from a scrap metal perspective. You get a car that comes in. I always said, they need to clean out the cars. Well, unfortunately, it is dangerous to go into a car that might have sharps or it might have other types of hazards. So you're better off taking it and really putting it through a shredder and trying to take care of it, because you don't want your guys to have other issues as they're trying to take care of these. So that's really what the vape effect is. 1.2 billion vapes, and it really just to show, that's just one area. There's a ton of others that we could walk through, but this is just one example. So what's causing these fires? What's making it better? I believe it's hot and dry environments, right? I do believe that the fact that the world is getting hotter and drier, we see more fires during the summer than we see during the rest of the year, but it is starting to even out, and I'll show you guys that. But we also see there are traditional hazards. People are still putting things that everybody has a story, and all my customers, the things that we've seen. If I could only write on my single hand, if I had the demonstration here, I'd have hundreds of people here watching this, right? Also, hot works and sparks, we see a ton of these. And the big thing again is really the sheer number of batteries, right? I mean, when you have a building that burns down, now you're dealing with literally every computer. You're dealing with every single thing that happens when you're trying to process all that material to get it back to the wood and the aggregates. And when you're doing the same thing with cars, you do. How many earbuds with 3 batteries are sitting there that actually can get through to your ASR piles? And we protect a ton of ASR piles because we see a lot of these hazards, and the one thing is that it's not that they're bad batteries, right? We treat our trash hard, like we're hard on our trash. I mean, the only way to be less hard on your trash is to slow it down. And there's no one in here who's gonna tell me that from an efficiency perspective, we should ever slow it down. So really what's happening now is that the lithium-ion batteries, they are causing the waste and recycling industry $2.5 billion a year. That's total number for all hazards. Half of that is batteries, because my estimate is about half of those are battery related. And all that money is really being spent by your insurance companies, and it's being spent by the operators. The operators are the victims in this equation. So most importantly, it's not whether you're going to have a fire. Good operators have less fires than bad operators, of course, but good operators have fires. It's inherent risk. There's a lot of businesses like refineries and chemicals that there's an inherent risk. And what do? You develop solutions that are respected and well enough known that those reputation, you allow them to actually come in and solve that problem from an inherent perspective. So really, when we look at it, it's all about severity of fire, right? Of course, I never want anyone hurt. That's most important. But also, if you're down for 4 hours, if you're down for 2 hours, if you're down for 2 days, if you have a black plume of smoke coming up over your building, if you have to use 1 million gallons of water for fire water, so using the frontline fire professionals as your response has a cost. Right? And so the cost is that you're dealing with the public, you're dealing with all the different legislative guys coming at, and then you're also dealing with the public who's not happy about these things. And again, most of our operators were in areas that there were no people before. As the whole world's growing, and as everyone's getting closer to these buildings, they're now saying you're the hazard, when in reality what they should be doing is, when they're talking about recycling, they should have a scrap metal facility sitting over, like a picture of their scrap metal yard, not looking at it like, sorry, there's loud noise. Again, from an injury and death perspective, we're very fortunate that most of the time we're not dealing with crazy amount of those types of things, but the injuries are typically to the fire professionals who are fighting the fires. They get heat exhaustion. And again, these are only the reported ones. So again, for me, my goal was only to put the data together so that I had an understanding, because there was never data before I started doing it. This is insurance carriers, and the biggest piece of all this is insurance carriers. You either self-insure or you have an insurance carrier. In 16, 17, and 18, you see like the shredder numbers of fires. These are actual claims by the top 5 insurance companies that pulled out of the industry. This is data from Insurance Office of America. Nathan Brainerd, thank you. This data has been, again, it just shows the example of lithium-ion battery claims, shredder claims, all went up in that 2018 timeframe, and it is due to the proliferation of batteries. So what can we do about it? And again, I have this report. I also have cards, so if you guys want to come up, you guys can actually download my report. But why do I share the report? And again, it's being used for EPR and by EPA and all these different things. But the reality is we need to show them that they need to have more convenient locations for drop-offs. So again, how do we get a handle on this? Operational best practices, right? You guys have the responsibility to be the best operators, and I know you guys do that. 2, education to limit contamination. And again, education of the businesses is just as, if not more important than education of the public. So I know we spend a lot of time, a lot of bandwidth worrying about the public. We don't spend enough time training, all of our, all the different businesses to ensure that their contamination rates are low. And then investments in frontline solutions like the Fire Rover. Of course, our system, we believe we are the only ones in the world that do what we do. We have a utility patent around what we do, and we are also FM certified. So this is an example of a fire that happened at one of my clients' shredder yards. And again, they were very nice to allow me to share these for operational best practices. A lot of my customers, again, some of them don't want to share want to share their videos, but as you can see here, we see the fire, we call our guys, they're going to have a water truck come over, so it's not like we're working in lieu of the employees. The employees are coming with the water truck. We're going to start to spray it. We have a grapple working through it, but again, watch that black plume of smoke. It's gray. We're catching it early. We can catch fires when before we see them from a heat perspective, but now it's everybody's on board to try to make sure that we have the best outcome, because the reality is, again, it goes back to severity of the fire. I don't want to have a catastrophic loss. I don't want to have a major loss. I don't want to have 1,000 gallons of fire water that we have to clean up, that some public is going to come in and say, hey, what are you guys doing? And so this is how we stop it. The fact is that we're in the best position to fight these fires. And again, this is it's a tip floor, but this is a continuous flow solution that we have. It's now FM approved. But what ends up happening is that I can see through smoke. I can see through darkness. So my agents are sitting with a joystick. They focus on those 10 minutes. They have ice in their veins, right? And again, they deal with these fires. I mean, today we had 3 fires that we dealt with. So the fire department comes in, they come in and they help us and they mimic what we're doing, but they can't actually see what they're hitting. And this is how we get such good outcomes from such bad situations. This is our dashboard, and again, I won't get into the full, but last year we caught 2,910 actionable fires or hotspots. We look at every single piece of hay in a haystack to find the needle. We pressurized 17% of the time, and we activated 268 times and put out 268 fires. We called the fire department 258 times. We call the fire department. We do have a landfill units. We have other early detection. So sometimes we're calling the fire department as our only means of response. So again, 850 installations, Europe, North America, Australia. But this is really the big thing, right? Insurance companies are finally listening. We have gotten FM approved. What that means is that with FM, it's like UL, if anyone doesn't know what it is, but basically we had to go through about 5 years of testing. We had to go through, if you look, we had to have 6 different standards that we tested to, because we had our entire solution. So you see, it's our fire protection for our monitors. We make our own fire panels. We make all of our own equipment. We assemble a lot of our stuff. Central station. So our central station is FM and UL and 5 Diamond certified. So we are doing everything we can to make sure that we have the best reputation, so that we can fight for you and with your insurance companies to get you guys the best rates. So normally I sit down, we do a proposal, and then we bring it to the insurance company before an investment is made, so that you guys get to take care of that investment, gets the most bang for the buck. So the beauty of the difference between us and anyone out there that is talking like they have an early detection system that might be automated, and again, try to automate a firefighter's job, and that's what I tell people, because if you think that you're going to be on a front line and you're going to make the right decisions and you're going to be able to do that with AI, we won't need a lot of us here. So I would say that we need firefighters, we need thinking, we need people responding and doing it the right way. We've never had a false activation, not one time. We've never accidentally shot a person. We are ideally suited for large spaces. We keep the fire professionals safe, so most of the fire professionals love this. Think you guys are in every single location in the country, or across the globe. You always have to deal with your waste and your trash and your scrap. But at the end of the day, this is something that, like, all those fire professionals, they are not prepared to fight your fires usually, right? Most of the time, unless you're in a city, they're fighting, they want to come to your house. It's a volunteer fire department. They're coming to protect your cat. Like, they're not coming to get in there and actually put themselves at risk, nor should they. They need to go home to their families at night, just like all of us do. So we use less water. we use, like FM did a study using smart monitors, which was our system 5 years ago, and they found that we used 92% less water than any other solution because we catch it quick, we don't have the results and don't have the issues that you end up having when the fire department is the front lines. So this is, when I say insurance companies are finally listening, this is Sean Mendel. Sir, can you play this?
Vice President of Safety and Risk Management with Waste Connections.
This is one of the senior VPs at Waste Connections who is sharing. Unfortunately, it's hard to hear, but I do have that on our website as well. And again, virtual firefighting, we are that initial response between prevention and something going wrong and getting the professionals on site, but also fighting the fires in the meantime. And again, we can do indoors, we can do outdoors, we can do yards, we do continuous flow, so we now can replace a sprinkler system from a sprinkler heads based on being a primary system with FM. And we do, this is one of the big things that in this industry, is that we have 40-foot towers that we can now place a tower that as long as you have water and you have a pump, we can put our cameras and nozzles relatively inexpensively, and you have 300 feet by 150 feet of protection. You might have 3 of them around your yards. We do a ton of storage and material for paper, plastic. As you can see, like in here, right? I mean, we're up 6 pallets deep. So, you know, there's a ton of coverage that we can cover with our solutions. Couple other things, and you know, I'm going to show again. Does anyone want to see videos of like real fires? This is our hot work robot, real quick, but this we just developed for a paper recycler. This actually replaces your fire watch. So it's on a Cushman. You drive it up. You can place it, you put your box around you, the area that you're working on and cutting and grinding, and then we can shoot it. And you know, you see all the horror stories of, you know, guys doing fire watch, falling asleep, drooling, doing dances on TikTok. Look up Fire Rover or look up fire watch dances. It's an entire thing. But I mean, so we're there to protect it. And by the way, I don't sleep, right? Our guys don't sleep. They don't go to the bathroom. They're not on TikTok. I mean, unless I put them on. So. This is like, just to give you an example, this is a rubber fire. We had a rubber fire out in 4.5 minutes, right? So people say these take 7 days. This took 4.5 minutes. We had these before the fire department arrived. And what you're gonna see is that, like, and again, these are all videos, but you'll be able to, we protect the collateral asset. The building's the most important piece here, and we know that, and that's what we're protecting. And you know, once we get down to the end, the black plume's gone, it turns white, and then we start to pull away layers, right? It's operational best practice that we work with our clients. Again, I will show one more video because Megan, which video would you like to see? All right, my favorite. I'm gonna play this one. And I'll give you all frontline as we all leave. But if you guys want a copy, thank you guys so much for listening to me. I'm sorry it wasn't demonstration. I hope it wasn't boring. This is my report. I don't expect anyone to carry this home unless you love reports, but I do have these cards that you can, that you can come up and get your report with. So, is there any questions, or am I not allowed to answer questions? Anybody have a question? Happy to answer. Wow. All right. Well, thank you guys very much.